Welcome to the 360 show with Golf Online. My name's Mark Crossfield and we're talking everything the Masters. This is the roundup. Let's get stuck in. So the Masters, what a championships. Unbelievable finish. Spieth blowing up. Willett strong, shooting 67 in the last round. We have only 6 players, I think. 6 players finishing under par. It just shows you how tough Augusta was playing in that wind. I was there on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday practice days and the wind was up. I even reported from there saying how tough it would be if the wind stayed, and it was brutal with those quick greens. Now the greens at Augusta are massive, but the targets are really small because you've got to get it on the right tiers, and the tiers are layered, lots of them, and small areas to hit onto, and the wind really played its part in this year's championships. I think lots of people didn't quite understand how tough that course was going to be in the wind. Even the players coming off in their post-match interviews were kind of, you know, breath of relief to get off the course almost, weren't they? Like, oh, that was tough out there, which I think lots of us quite enjoyed watching in lots of ways. So it was an interesting scoring 4 days with the course playing that way. Other great things in the championship, we got to see Tom Watson's last Masters championship, all very emotional. He seemed to be taking that very well and interviewing, as he always does, fantastically well. I was lucky enough to see Woosnam at the Masters. He said it was going to be his last one he plays as well, which was also fantastic to see. And great to see some of the older guys making the cut. Langer, what an inspiration to us all. Unfortunately, we didn't get to watch him at all on the last day. I think we got to see him miss a putt on 18th, but that's often what happens if you're in the last few groups and then you fall back. They just don't show you, which I think is always a shame. I'd love to have seen Langer playing a little bit on the last day, but what an amazing performance from Bernard Langer. So let's get into Spieth. Unbelievable, wasn't it? That was, what an implode on 12. Have you ever, I mean, that's got to go down in history as one of the bigger implodes. I mean, he finished tied second, only 3 off the lead. He was one of the only players in the top 10, only 2 in the top 10 actually shot over par on the day. 1 over is what he shot on that last day as well. You've got to put this into perspective for the guy. Massive implode on 12, still finishes tied for second in a major, and he's only shooting 1 over on still, which was quite a tough day. You've got to remember Danny Willetts shot 5 under on that last day to move up that leaderboard like he did. So yes, the implode was monumental, and it was kind of car crash, fantastic telly. The guy was shaken, and I felt sorry for the guy, but I think he'll reflect, he'll come away from the emotions of it and think, I'm still tied second. I made a 7 on a par 3. I mean, that was his championship again, wasn't it? Then the other big talking factor also, it was wild over on my Twitter account over the weekend, talking about Jordan Spieth's slow play. It'll be interesting to see how that unfolds through the season, if he makes any difference, if he tries to change things, if the Tour watch him closely. The PGA Tour don't have a time thing at the moment, where European Tour does. So it'll be interesting to see how he handles that, if he changes it or not. I mean, he is slow, isn't he? He backs off, he takes his time. I think some of the comments people are making about it ruining the game and turning people off are a little bit wild, considering you've got one of the highest paid sportsmen in the world. But tied for second while having an implode, you can't get away from how good that actually is. Right, I've got some great images here of Danny Willetts' swing. Should we take a look? Let's take a look at Danny Willetts' golf swing, because it's quite unique in lots of ways, actually. It's an interesting one, I think, that lots of people say won't understand. So we're going to start from the front on view. Now, his right hand isn't quite on the club here, and I've stood next to Danny and watched him hit shots quite closely. He has what people call a strong grip. He'll see nearly 4 knuckles, if not 4, and right hand is slightly underneath the club. Now he makes quite an interesting takeaway. As he takes the club back, he kind of picks it straight up. I'll show you from the other direction in a second. Turns very much over his starting position with his driver. He starts with his body behind the ball, kind of turns over that position or around that position on the way back. Very neat movement, really not many moving parts, which there's not many flailing parts with Danny. Coming down in to hit the ball, we see a little bit of shaft forward lean as he comes very close to impact. That'll almost catch up. You've got to remember he does have that relatively strong grip, so he's going to use that angle to control face the path to a certain extent as well. Fantastic drive with his lower half, pushing off the ground, getting that lower half through, so getting it, moving it forwards of where he started, and rotates it a lot also to manage what that grip can do to the face, and then going into a very good extended follow through. When you get into those follow through positions, looks very classic. If we go on to another angle here, I'm just going to flip it now on to the down the line image actually. Because what's interesting with the down the line image, he starts from this position. You wouldn't tell the grip is strong, particularly unless you really knew what you were looking for. There's that pickup on the way back. Lots of people would call that outside the line, wouldn't they? Whatever this line is. So he picks it up. Again here, that club is quite a long way out in front of him compared to lots of other golfers. Takes it up to the top. Very good top of the backswing position. You get a little bit of cupping in that left wrist because you got to remember he does start, like I say, with that stronger grip, that more twisted grip. Fantastic flattening of the shaft as he comes down, tries to make sure he gets the centre of gravity of the club under the hand plane, and then turning through the ball, getting his loads of energy off the right foot as he's really rotating his hips into impact. Again, into a very good extended follow through. Danny has a very, very neat swing with lots of his slightly quirky movements, say the takeaway, and certainly that delivery built around that grip. And the more I watch golf swings, tour players, talk with them, and watch many golf swings and listen to people online, it's not just golf swings that win events. Obviously, there's so much more to a game of golf, but it's also the person who swings the club, or it's the person who handles the swing, if that makes sense. So that action, put in another tour player, might not compute, might not work for them. They would hit worse shots. It's the player and how they handle the action more than often the action. Danny Willetts up and down on 17 is a great example of not swing, getting a bit of short game, timing his great touch chip at a fantastic time, and then that hitting into 16 nice and close, those kind of things. It's the player and how they handle the swing for me. Interesting action there from Danny Willett. Post comments down below. Are you happy Danny's won? Hit that thumbs up button if you're happy Danny has won. I certainly am. He's a fellow XR Callaway driver man. We're owning it. Knuckleball, people. Knuckleball.